We have the debut album from dead7. Moment, please, because this is a long ass album title. Love what you can while you got something left to love. And I would be surprised if there is a longer album name to release in the year 2025.
I would genuinely be shocked, especially because it's all caps too. It takes up more space.
Yeah. I want to ask if any of you three had any thoughts on this album before I go on my spiel.
Listen.
Probably nothing that you won't mention, but I did want to give a shout out to Blur because I thought that in particular it was a very strong both song and opener, and as well as the second half of Dope Sick as the closer, which I thought was a very good way to end the album. Otherwise, I didn't have very many thoughts other than it's good, it's fine, it's passable. It's another kind of heavier post-hardcore and a metalcore album that I've heard this year. I'm not upset by it by any means, but I don't see myself revisiting. So soapbox away, Jake.
Yeah, unless Justin, you had anything.
Yeah, I was about to say, Blur was the one that I had saved prior to the album, and it's still good. Everything else was kind of meh. I liked Hole. I think Hole was probably my favorite.
Yeah, so I think Blur might be my favorite album opener I've heard all year, and also maybe a top 10 song of the year. I am fucking obsessed with Blur. Blur is the reason why I had such high expectations for this album, because it blends genres together so well with, like, you get the pre-chorus sort of thing before, like, you do, like, the Blur, and then you get the main riff of the song, like that sort of, like, very, basically just, like, spoken word with reverb, like, before the main riff, and I fucking love that part. But the way that Blur builds as a song, and, like, the progression as it gets heavier and heavier to the end of the song, and then that part at the very end, the hell is loving long enough not to die young before you get, like, very reminiscent to Death Roll by Wage War sort of breakdown. It blew me away the first time I heard it, and that was a few months ago. And to this day, I am still obsessed with it. Like, and I think that's where a lot of my conflict with this album comes from, because Blur set the bar so high, and it blended together different styles so well that I thought this could be one of the most unique albums I would listen to all year. And there are definitely elements of that across this album. They are not afraid to try something different. But I don't think they stuck the landing across the board in the way that Blur did. I want to echo what Justin said about Hole. I don't know what the fuck that instrument is at, like, the start of the song, or the whatever the hell that is. It sounds really cool. I really like it. And it also comes up in the break. If it's a guitar, it's making weird guitar noises that I don't normally hear. So, but they do the same thing in the breakdown as well, that I also really like.
The first time I heard that was on You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To, and by Knocked Loose. I don't remember. I know you haven't gone back to Blinding Faith, Jake, but if you it's prevalent there, and it's also prevalent on there's another song on that album, but they did that last year and it sounded sick, and I did have it in my notes that I wanted to mention that. I thought that was fantastic.
I'll tell you what song it is.
So, yeah, I think especially Blur and Hole being the two lead singles for this album really set my expectations as, like, this was going to be a very creative, very unique album. And not to say I didn't get that with these 10 songs, but I really feel like Blur and Hole are, like, the peak of that creativity and the peak success of that creativity. But I do think there are a lot of other really cool moments on this album. I think especially the two songs that stood out to me the most were Teeth and Tattoo. I especially liked Teeth, and, like, the very, like, slow, almost, like, horror-esque, creepy sort of guitar tone in the pre-chorus of that. And then also at the very end of Teeth, you get, like, a breakdown to outro the song, which is a cool sort of... it's just a creative way to end the song. It isn't just your verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, end. Which, unfortunately, a lot of the songs on this album kind of just falls into that song structure. And when you lead the album off with Blur, which has such an unconventional song structure and genre blending, I expected to hear more of that throughout the rest of the album. But on songs like Nuclear, you get that more generic sort of song structure. Not to say that they even do a bad job. I think Nuclear is one of the songs I've gone back to the most. Like, I think they did a great job with that on Nuclear in particular, but I feel like there was a lot of untapped potential here. Ultimately, this is still the album I've spent the most time with throughout the month. And especially Blur and Hole, I've gone back to a lot. Tattoo has a really cool progression as well. Floating feels a little out of place to me. And I feel like part of that is given Blur as the opener, you get that like Wage War Death Roll type breakdown at the end of it. And then in Hole, you get that knocked loose-esque guitar tone. And Floating is kind of the only other really heavy moment on this album. So like, I think that's another one of my complaints, is that I expected this album to be a lot heavier than it was. Not to say that there aren't breakdowns, because like you get a breakdown on Enemy and you get a breakdown on Teeth. And Floating is obviously fucking pissed off. But I would have liked to have had that the heavier moments a little bit more dispersed. We're going to talk about Fit for a King's album next month, but track 3 on the new Fit for a King album is fucking brutal. Extinction. And I feel like this album could have done with a moment like that, where like maybe on Blood or on Enemy, you just have like a really heavy section, so Floating doesn't feel out of place. Or maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just me that thinks Floating is feeling out of place.
No, I agree with you. I also, because I thought that the Please with Marcus Vick, I thought would be heavier than it was.
Mm-hmm. Marcus kind of steals the show on that song, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. I think
like
it's
it is Marcus Vick. Like I wonder what that song would have sounded like without a feature, because hearing it with Marcus on it makes me just wish, like, God, why couldn't Marcus have just sung this entire song? Not to say that, like,
yeah, I hear you.
Not to say discredit the guy that's singing the song, but like Marcus just sounds so phenomenal on Please. Yeah, I think this band has a lot of potential. And I think that's very clear on a song like Blur. And obviously they're still very small and a relatively new band. I think with time, with come another EP or another album, I think this band, if they keep swinging, they're going to hit a home run eventually.
Absolutely.
But they need more time to cook, I think. This is, I still would recommend, I think this album is worth a listen. It is not the Dark Horse Top 10 Album of the Year contender that Blur had me thinking it could be.
Yeah, I think that having Floating maybe at an earlier part in the track list to break a little bit of the monotony of the middle of the album would have definitely... Or not Blur. Did I say Blur? I meant Floating. Yeah. If that was further up, it's almost I want to bring a Spirit Box comparison with Eternal Blue and the placement of Holy Roller. I feel like having that where it was definitely helped the album and break it up into not necessarily sections, but give it a little bit more of a journey to go through and a contrast for everything else. Floating where it is, yeah, it just feels a little bit out of place, like you were saying. But definitely good bones. I agree, this band has a lot of potential. I just don't think it was really realized here.
In full, anyway.
Yeah, having your best song be the intro kind of sets us up for a little bit of a...
Yep. I think the last comment I want to make in regards to like the creativity and experimentation that this album goes for is there's especially a lot of vocal production across this album. Like, there's a lot of reverb moments. There's a lot of distorted vocals on songs like Floating, on Blur. You get some on Please as well. You get some on... What was it? Blur, Please, and Floating, I think, were the main ones. I think maybe it's just those three. But you get a lot of vocal production. I feel like on a song like Blur, it's phenomenal. On some of the other moments on this album, it comes across a little bit more gimmicky to me. And I really think that's just, like, again, something that needs to be ironed out. Like, Bad Omens didn't make a generational album on their first try, you know?
Yeah.
Not to say
very
that
true.
dead7 are going to be the next Bad Omens, but like, The Death of Peace of Mind was an extremely experimental album, and they nailed just about every single experimental swing that they took on that album with the production. There's potential here. I'm just repeating what I've said at this point, but more time to refine and experiment. I think this band has a bright future.